Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to another Tuesday adventure into reality. I am joined by my intrepid co-host Martina Grubmueller. Welcome once again to the show, Martina. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Andrew. Good to be here. Exhausted,
Yeah. So, how are those
but I was
how
okay.
how are those solar energies and the worldly energies affecting you today?
I've been sleeping a lot. Slept all the way through it, I think, on and off, but it's feeling good. I'm feeling good today, so ready to rock.
So, I have been experiencing this extreme form of sleepies at different levels. And I was just relating to Martina before the show start on the full moon eclipse on Saturday, or was it Friday, whatever it was. I knew that it was going to start right at 11 o'clock, and right around 10:15, I'm like, I'm a little sleepy, so I'm going to take a quick snooze, and I thought I'd be just fine. And I ended up sleeping through the eclipse, but during my time of sleeping, I had a dream that it didn't start till 11:50, and I woke up like 11:52 thinking, hey, I'm in the right space, and I get out there and it's already over. Now, this experience of sleep energy during these great changes is not a bad thing. First thing first, it's telling that the body needs a form of rest to integrate the strange and unusual energies that we're all experiencing. Now, integrating strange time energies, I want people to think. If you were active as a spiritual person back in 2014, where from the March 2014 till October 2014, every month we had some very, very strange eclipse energy, solar alignments, and what's what I call the grand year of cooking us energetically. Who remembers that? Martina, do you remember the energies of 2014 and all the solar and planetary alignments?
On and off. I've never been so aware
Well,
of it like now.
it was absolutely everywhere. We had it was like the one of the odd years where we had like double to triple the amount of eclipses in a year.
Mm.
It was an ending of the old age. Okay. Well, if you go back and do some Google searches and begin to remind yourself, you'll realize just in the month of April alone, you had two solar eclipses, four planetary grand alignments, and a bunch of other things happening in one month. And then the next month, the same thing happened, and the next month, and the next month, and the next month. And we were energetically cooked then. I experienced deep, sleepy energy back then, but it was connected to these intense, intense, intense dream states. Now, I have been re experiencing these intense dream states, and the level of sleepiness has been ramped up a tremendous fold for me.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, do you know what? Do you think you want to also say something on the water retention for people? Because I think that could be quite,
Mm,
no?
well, whatever there's unique solar alignments, eclipses, the body naturally wants to store more water. It's just an innate thing in the DNA. So that when we're absorbing the light and the energies from these journeys, we have more water to program and to use within our bodies, mind, and spirit. We have a higher electrical conductivity state when we have more water, more trace minerals that allow us to do our daily spiritual journeys.
Yeah. So basically, if anyone wonders why they maybe feel a bit heavier than normal, that could be part of that.
Yes, and the whole thing of water retention, the body also does it bases off of the phases of the moon. And if you live next to the ocean, which is like 40 to 50 miles to the ocean, your body will retain water based off of the high tides and the low tides.
Yes.
So
I've got the
Martina,
Thames close to me. Yeah.
yeah, we're here to talk about the strange energies, integrating it, and understanding the nature of creating in these strange times, out
Yeah.
creating the old and creating something brand new that doesn't have battle space, war space, or defense as a background. So many people are constantly in warfare, warfare, warfare. They forget that they can have experiences that have nothing to do with warfare or self protection. Learning how to find that protected I am state in which creativity can flow without the hindrance of I'm under attack, or people are projecting at me, or my shame, blame, and guilt is going to stop me from having those states of accepting I can create today, now.
Yeah. The way I've been looking at this was also, I mean, how does a self-illuminated master create?
Every day they create self-illumination.
Yeah. And how does it differ to how we used to create? And you were just saying all of that now. And it's really a matter of how can we go from creating through charge and polarity, because that was the old way of creation, to almost getting impulse into action when we find ourselves in charge and polarity, from now going into creating from a different level, creating from a sacred neutral perspective, creating from a place of choice. And that place, a very different dynamic, isn't it?
That place of choice at times can be hard for people to reach and enforce for 24 to 48 hours. And then there are those that can't enforce the choice for more than an hour. And this is many years ago, I said, you've got to start giving yourself permission slips. Now that helped a lot of people, but ultimately, why do you need permission to make choice? Something within you is creating a limitation at your levels of expansion and expansiveness.
Yeah, and often, what I'm finding is often it is a matter of not really having looked at this possibility, because we are so conditioned, if you wish, to create from duality. Yep. It's like it's written everywhere. We're creating through duality, and that's what we have been doing as the I am finite. Mm-hmm. Now, in this new color of time, is how can we create from a place of non-duality? And I was thinking what we can do today is maybe just quickly, briefly look back into those little terms, those coined phrases that you've been, teaching over the last couple of years, and just remind us, so what does non-duality versus singularity actually mean? And are we now creating from a singularity, or are we going in and out?
Most people are stuck in an in and out stage and don't truly know the difference between singularity and duality, because they have not experienced the extremes of one part of the singularity or the extremes of the duality, because they're constantly waffling back and forth. They don't have a baseline until such a time a daily practice creates a baseline for the two sides of the duality, and then the single side of singularity and the dual side of duality. Each is a separate experiential base. And when we slide into the singularity, it's when we're in meditation spaces and using our protected energies to create the non-warfare state, so that we can be in a form of oneness with ourselves, not necessarily all the different fractal aspects of the universe who are offering oneness with us out of choice if we should bring them in. The other side, the duality, the 3D matrix you, who has to make the choice to be in the meditative state, who has to make the choice to carve out time, who has to make the choice to do all of the things that maintain a daily practice, that is still the singularities of each of those choices, but in duality at the same time. Because when we come out of that meditative space or the ceremonious space, we are back in the 3D matrix world, back in the duality, and each time have to make a choice that says, I can separate duality and singularity and still live a conscious, aware life.
Exactly. So can we say that, charge and polarity is always there as the I am finite being? Like throughout your day, you are experiencing charge and polarity, but you can choose to stay in the unlimited point of view, 0 point frequency, if you wish, that type of stuff. And then once
you've reached the practice state, yes. Mm-hmm. And what does that practice state really represent? Enough time in the experiential base to truly know the difference from one side to the other, so that choice is clear when you make it. Like making a choice to do these radio shows and making the choice to be in the neutral position and making a choice, it's become second nature, but the choice is still there. Okay.
Yes.
For people that are much newer at it, the choice has a much more required energy behind it.
So this is good. We need to talk about choice, I think, a little bit more. And I would say from where I come from my background, I have always learned that choice creates awareness. Okay, so
Yes. And it
yeah,
can
and
create unawareness too.
yes, because we're always choosing, even if you're not choosing. Absolutely, tacit consent and all of that. And the more we choose consciously, the more, it's not necessarily information, but the more awareness is being opened up to us, so that then we can start choosing more and more and more. So choice is actually that tool for, as a self-illuminated master, if you wish, choice is a tool to create.
Yes.
Yes.
It's also a tool that has sub choices within the choice, that have choices within the sub choices that can complicate the nature of the choice. I say this because there is a choice many people made 5 years ago that is unbreakable. So these all these other choices are left out of their line because that unbreakable choice had a bunch of sub choices that solidified a belief.
Okay, so is that a choice or a decision they made? Because I make a distinction between choice and decision. A decision is very much like, in this reality, considered, I've made that decision, I have to stick with it. Whereas for me, a choice is, I've made a choice and I can choose again and again and again. And this is
So
also why we can say that, you know,
okay.
from a self mastery perspective, that all the decisions that you've made, this lifetime, other lifetimes and dimensions and all that, destroy and uncreate them and let them
So
go.
it's about choice points of adherence in which the belief engine and the architecture around the belief engine were created.
Mm-hmm.
So in the mentorship class, we talked about choice points of adherence and how potent and powerful and unmutable that they are. Until such a time we begin to deprogram ourselves, which was what you were just talking about. When we choose to consciously, actively deprogram these choice points, we learn that there's knots within knots within knots about the one choice that had all these other choices solidified like a set of shoelaces being tied up. Until one at a time you take each knot and undo each shoelace until the shoe can finally come off and you're not adhered to those set of choice points. And then a new set of choice points when the shoe will come back on that's not necessarily a limiter, but still allowing the being to understand the nature of choice can be more than a conclusion. It can be more than a judgment. It can be in the fundamental architecture of who you are.
Yes. So to ask again the question, how does a self-illuminated master create? Exactly like that. It creates from choice and from undefinition, if you wish.
Yeah.
And everything that has been defined and has been made significant and valuable and everything, that needs to be released.
Mm-hmm. And that releasing journey is self-healing, self-nurturing,
That's correct. Yes.
self-exploration, self-mastery. And to beyond that particular individuated journey is the choice you have every day.
So how do we how does, let me use the self-illuminated master again. So how does the illuminated master stay on track? Through
Schedule.
choice.
Schedule.
Okay.
Schedule magic.
Okay. What else?
So if you're a self-illuminated master without a schedule, you're a one half self-illuminated master because you can't remember everything.
So schedule, that would, let's say, can we call that commitment to the daily
It's not
process?
just that. It's understanding that the self-illuminated master is not a person in the no plan. They actually have to plan weeks and months ahead of time for their spiritual processes and journeys and all the lead up that comes with it and the strategy that's involved. You're not just playing chess and the game is over and spirituality isn't on. It's an ever evolving journey that requires a schedule. So the mind is not always multitasking and giving the energy away to the programs to make schedules.
Yes, so that's a spiritual strategy we were talking about a
Right.
couple of
Because otherwise you're
shows
run
ago.
by the emotions and you're not run by the I am.
Okay, so that's interesting. You're saying emotion. I was just about to say that. Can we now use, even in a sacred neutral, as a sacred neutral observer, as a, a self-mastered individual, if you wish, can we still use our emotions to give us a perspective of where we're at with our choice
The answer
point?
is yes, but emotions will drive subject matters that you aren't ready for all too often. And people are asking, what do you mean by schedule? Google Calendar, a calendar book, something that you're able to go back and look at what you have done and be able to rate yourself for what you are going to do. All too often, people forget 9 ceremonies ago what they were doing, but if it's on the schedule that says this month's ceremony is about this subject matter, there's a metaphor for you to remember what you did for it. I have
Yes,
a schedule that says not only my clients, but it also says what work I've done in the past. Did I do it? Did I not do it? Did I do it effectively or not effectively? That's almost like a diary. I call it schedule magic for a reason, because maintaining time as a no time being is its own form of magic.
yes.
And
Uh,
mastering time is literally mastering time, literally.
yes. And I love tools, very practical, pragmatic tools. And one of the tools that I like to use is my body, the vehicle of
Yes.
experience that I've
Yeah.
chosen. And
Yeah.
that's why, in this new renaissance of emotions, the way I look at it as a new renaissance, you're not going to get stuck in it and you're not going to get harvested. You're not allowing yourself to be harvested through your emotions, but you're actually still using them to see where you're at. And
Right.
if the body says, hey, this feels off, even if it is scheduled, maybe now is not the time to do it.
Which on the schedule you can say, I felt at the moment it wasn't right.
Yeah,
And have a simple system that recognize it. And what you may notice is the next 2 times, not only you did it with high effectiveness, you needed that week before off to save energy. And
absolutely.
your emotions told you that.
Just like we were saying about, that weekend now and all the energies of full moon. I mean, I slept
Yeah.
constantly. And there was a moment I'm thinking, really, is this all I need to do here? Is there not anything else that I have to be or do? I was like, no, go to sleep,
Yeah. And
and stuff like that.
don't feel guilty about it. Oh no, I didn't do something for the eclipse.
Exactly. But you see, this is what I'm saying. Use your bodies as a tool, because if your body is tired, that very often is a reason why it's tired. And sometimes
Yes.
it requires that just trust. Don't try to cognitize everything. So how does the self-illuminated master create? It requires a lot of trust.
Yeah, choice,
Choice, trust,
trust in the
commitment,
choices, trust in the choices
trust in the choices.
that play out
Yes,
over time.
yes. Focus, staying
Mm-hmm.
on focus and not
Commitment,
deviating, going into the negativity
mm-hmm.
of everything. And
Commitment, yeah,
intention. What's your intention?
and
You know,
adult intention, and then understanding commitment to adult intentions.
absolutely,
There's
absolutely.
there's baby step intention, which is full intention. I'm putting an intention forward, but I'm not pulling the fullness of my I am here right now, maintaining a focus that is giving strategy and definition to the long-term process here.
Yes. And also using that choice again, it's like it's not one choice a day, it's millions of choices. And we were
Yeah,
talking, I think you were saying in your advertisement for this, it's being in the moment. One of the
yeah,
things is, how do we create in this new energy? You have to be in the moment
right. Do you remember?
constantly.
Do you remember? It was back in one of the mentorship classes. We broke down the mechanics of a choice.
I can't remember exactly now, but let's talk
So
about it. Yeah.
let's break down the mechanics of a choice.
What are the mechanics of a choice?
So let's say, do you want to have dinner? Yes. What do you
Mm-hmm.
want to eat? X, X, or X. So, do you want to have dinner is the choice. Yes or no. What
Mm-hmm.
are the mechanics behind choosing that choice in the spiritual perspective of the I am aware being who's sitting in a moment, who's feeling hunger or not hunger, or maybe with a person or not with a person. But what are the mechanics behind that choice?
Okay, so it's, as soon as I say I'm hungry and I make a choice that I need to eat something, what happens is the awareness is going to kick in. What's available? What are the possibilities out there? What's in the fridge? The
What are my sub choices to this choice?
You call it sub choices, exactly. Yeah. So what are my sub choices? And then it's following that energy, right? What feels good? What doesn't feel good? And using all my senses, using my body, using my
right. And then the program and then the part of it says, I'm on a diet, I don't need to eat now.
Yes, and call
or the old program that says, I have to look well, and therefore I'm going to only eat this, limiting all of my sub choices, denying one's feelings, thoughts, and emotions.
Yeah.
Okay. I chose food as one of those subject matters because everyone understands innately understands the choices behind food. Now let's switch it to something different, something much more interpersonal, like sex. Different set of choices, isn't it? Versus the sub choices of what I want. Do I want this person close to me? Do I want this energy in my feeling? Am I feeling emotional now, or am I just feeling hormones? Or are the hormones creating the choice which has already been made for me and there's no stopping it?
So using that example now brings up another energy here, which is very much linked to the creation of a self-illuminated master and to choice, which is receiving.
Right.
You know, are you actually willing to receive whatever is on offer there? Or do you have, like you said, conclusions and all these expectations and projections in your head that if somebody, or that food or whatever is available, am I choosing it? Am I willing to receive it? Or do I have hundreds of thousands of ideas?
Fully receive it.
Yes.
Because all too often we eat food and it's not really that good. And you did the same thing to the energy.
Exactly. And how many times do we actually ask our bodies if they enjoy the food? Because the body might enjoy the food, but you might have too many conclusions about, am I allowed to eat that or not?
Okay. I have an interesting food story. So there's this semi-fast food restaurant here called Mr. Hero, and it's only in the tri-state area over here. And when I was a kid, my dad bought me this sandwich called a Roman burger. And it's just basically a burger with salami and cheese and mayo and tomato on it. Nothing's truly unusual. But to me, at that age, when he bought it for me and the environment was around, I was instantly like, this is the most tasty food I have had. And years later, I am still remembering that and being away for many years and not being able to have it, and then going to have it after 10 years of being away. There was this glamour behind this food that wasn't there anymore after being 10 years of remembering part of my childhood. Oh, I really enjoyed this food, versus the family pizza place that we go to, whose recipe hasn't changed in 30 years. And yet when I had it after 10 years of being away, not only it was not a disappointment, it was, oh, wow, I remember how good this was now. Okay.
So how did that make you feel?
Wonderful.
Literally feel.
The food actually invigorated me to open up to the old memories that were associated, invigorated the taste buds in my mouth for 2 days afterwards. Sparked emotion of energy within me, like, oh wow, I remember going and have pizza like after baseball games, after soccer games, the whole kids everywhere, all the friends that were there, or just getting a pizza for a Friday night with me and a friend hanging out and chilling out and stuff like that.
So would you say that was more beneficial to the body?
Yes.
From a nutritional value.
Yes.
And, it's like, oh, I can't eat this. I need to have some, I don't know, raw.
And the irony, this place for 30 years has been organic and all natural food, direct from the Amish people, before anyone even created that word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then going back to the earlier example that you've used, where you did go back and the burger was no longer that, tasty that you anticipated it
It was.
to be.
I wouldn't say awful. It didn't have the glamour.
But how was that for you? Because so many people get put off by that. Oh my God,
It
and
was.
then they start judging themselves that they can no longer, appreciate something they used to appreciate 20 years ago or whatever.
It was disappointing. It was
Exactly.
very disappointing. Did it feel like the energy was taken out of my sails? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
What did it do for me as the choicing? Am I ever going to eat this again? The answer is yes. When I had it the second time, it was a little bit better. And this is where I realized it was the energy of the person making it.
yeah,
Okay.
that's an
That had a
interesting, yeah.
huge impact on me.
Yeah. But and I also want to say, so what if, you could just receive that this is no longer for you and not eat it anymore.
Right. I haven't gone back a third time,
Yeah,
and I won't. Not
yeah,
because it's fast food. It's because when I was a teenager, I was accepting the teenager energy who was creating it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I think what we're saying here, what we're saying here is that when you have choice, you can change everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As a potent creator of unlimited point of view, everything, you can change everything. This is the potency pretty much that we are as self-illuminated masters, that
Yeah.
change is possible for in every single area, be it now food, sex, anything,
Mm-hmm.
anything that you want to create.
So something else about the self-illuminated master, their journey to get there has all these choices behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the choice to amplify self-illuminated master. So we begin regular cyclical evolution and we start shedding the old skins on a basis, just like a snake shedding its old skin. Every couple months or every couple years, you do a major shedding of the old because they're not serving you anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
that journey is to self-illuminated master. When you go through that first shedding of the skin, it's a great relief, but it's a choice to shed the next skin, the next
Mm-hmm.
skin, and the next skin until such a time it's a part of your regular habitual positive patterning.
Mm-hmm. So, and how many, I mean, if you just listen to this, yeah, that is a choice. Now, how often do we not allow ourselves to make these choices because we are being expected to stay consistent, to be a certain person because other people want us to be that? And how much of us do actually buy into that? Do not out-create ourselves on a secular basis because of our terrain and of our environment. And that's where the choice comes in. That's true choice.
And the self-illuminated master who understands choice is going to come every day. It's the mechanics of free will. That's why I wanted to bring up the mechanics of choice. Choice is exerting free will at every stage. You hear me say we're in a 100% free will universe, and a 100% free will galaxy, and a 100% free will solar system, on a 100% free will planet that has three 100% free will timelines. That's a lot of free will choice at many
Yeah.
scales of your awareness that you can perceive. And the self-illuminated master is on the journey to making choices at all those different scales and levels of awareness where you have 100% free will choice.
Exactly. So that's looking outside of dimension and outside of time, which is another element of looking what is the finite I am and what is the infinite I am,
Mm-hmm.
and what can we now start choosing because the energies are conducive to that, to really step into our multidimensional beingness,
Our birthright.
birthright and legacy. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So
When we
that's
begin
another one of those.
when we begin exploring the duality and the singularity, inevitably we come up with a term non-competitional. Now,
Yes.
I've talked about this. A non-competitional state, it truly nullifies all competition projected at you and internally within yourself. You can't beat a non-competitional person because there's no competition to begin with. Yet the external egos will go, I beat you left and right. This is not turn the other cheek. This is to not give space for competition to store charge and polarity within you.
Exactly. It's all about charge and polarity. It's all about the unlimited point of view. It's all about seeing what is and not buying into it, not entangling with it.
Okay. And then reaching the state of non-competition with an understanding we're exploring duality brings up the next journey, equal co-creation. And it's the fundamental spiritual moral code of I'm non-competitive, I'm an equal co-creation, and I'm exploring my singularity and duality. This creates a universal signature frequency match for those that are exploring those subjects as self-illumination.
Exactly. And this is part of the necessity, if you wish, in this reality, or the one you want to create yourself within time and space, if you really want to start working with the multitude of other species that are out there, where you just cannot go into judgment, where you just have to stay a certain signature frequency level in order to be able to communicate with them on some level.
Which is the final part of the journey, non-hierarchical order.
Yes.
Equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order, non-duality, non-singularity, I am being now. Who's a DNA skin suit of awareness.
Okay, so let's throw non-agenda into this one.
So non-agenda is a experienced choice maker and self-illumination who understands the no-time singularity of your version of you is not operating in linear time and may have concepts that are not agendas because they span over tens of thousands of lifetimes. And the time-based thing has to have agendas so that in its slice of time, it says success, non-success, failure, acceptance, or whatever the positive, negative journey of accepting the energies are, or the learnings of the karmas.
So that is another important point to look at, actually, for our journeys now of how to co-create, because we're going from Roman numeral time, which is here. It's not going to disappear, but we're going to look at Roman numeral time and universal galactic time now. So how can we, what's it going to look like to not combine, but being able to go from one to the other?
So in the beginning, it's you can choose both times. And that's what your daily practice reminds you. I'm in Roman numeral time as I'm doing my no time practices or other time-based practices. Okay? Until you reach a level where the choice is I'm in time, but I'm also outside of time. I'm the duality who's experiencing the singularity during this bubble of time.
Yeah. And we were talking, like in our orchestra of consciousness, we're obviously talking, choice is part of consciousness, and consciousness is time choice and space, limited. So the collective consciousness, and this is so important now, for me anyway, it was important to understand that the collective consciousness as such is starting to become limited. It's a limitation to us. Well, it can, we're talking obviously unlimited perspective. Yes, we need it to create here. And at the same time, we need to start looking beyond collective consciousness and see, so what is outside of that? This is where we go into the signature frequency teaching, right? Vibration, harmony, and frequency.
So what I can say is the greater journey into choice and all of the things that are around choice ultimately are going to lead the self-illuminated master up the scale of raising their frequency, which expands their awareness, which then expands their responsibility. And as you expand your awareness and your responsibility comes in tune and harmony with your responsibility to your awareness, we get exposed to new subject matters that may not use any other frequency of time. This is when our guides and guardians are talking to us. Okay, and we have an allowance of that energy as part of our DNA instrument of experience that is still a part of our time-based frequency. And then we're going to learn about other beings who have another time and another time and another time. until such a time where we realize you can have tens of thousands of beings in a collective, sharing a collective frequency of time, even though all those beings exist outside of those normal times. And that collective is there as your greater soul family's journey at communicating you from the higher realms, the higher frequencies.
Okay, so we can always go back to more distinctions, but maybe as you're mentioning this here now, okay, first of all, can we say that outside of this consciousness we were just talking about, would that be celestial medium, celestial
self-illuminated masters become celestial meetings? It's the natural evolution to that next state. But it's a choice. It's a choice to transition from self-illuminated master to celestial medium.
Yes.
And a choice to go back, because we don't main the celestial medium 24/7, 365.
No, exactly. This is where we have to start actually, adjusting our frequency and
Right.
becoming, in and out. So basically we can say that during daytime, if you wish, if you're doing your thrival work, no longer the survival work, if you wish, as an illuminated master, you staying in as an illuminated master. And then if you go to sleep, you go into dream time, you go more into celestial medium, where you start then connecting to the Akashic Records, if you wish, or you start to the Dreamtime societies.
For the most part. But then there's the time the self-illuminated master has to choose to do it during their waking daily practice, which can be a challenge to unpack and uncode the 1 million celestial letter celestial alphabet now, as a spiritual aware being of choice, which is in the flow, which is natural intuition that's not hindered by doubt or hesitation, which represents how advanced the self-illuminated master has become with their practice.
So that's where a superluminal thinking comes in. That's what
which is a byproduct. Which is a byproduct of all the experiences.
Yeah. And that's where we were talking about, you're in the vagus nerve, you're driving, you are in charge of what's going on. You're not being, limited by any speed limits and that type of stuff.
Right. And once the speed limits and the work zones and all those limitations are gone, superluminal thinking, as I said, is a byproduct of how experienced you are. But then there becomes a choice while we are in both both the self-illuminated master holding the mantle of responsibility to be a celestial medium of peace, who then uses superluminal thinking to connect all three states of choice, so the body becomes part of the processing experience of the celestial medium of peace. The body is not separate of it. And the journey to self-illumination is making a body a part of all the experiences.
But this is why we always mention the body as your tool and as your companion and as your, the one who's working with you, if you so allow it, and start having that relationship with the body, because the body's got to ground it all in. You can do your superluminal thinking and the body will ground in that information.
Yeah, and in the grounding of that, in that grounding of the information in the body, creates the tactile, visceral feelings of experience that the body, because it's the DNA instrument of experience, can amplify these things, which changes the nature of memories stored in light of those experiences, in which the body was able to amplify the light that's being stored.
Yes.
Meaning memories become super potent, and that superluminal experience you won't forget an hour later, just like we forget our dreams when we're first waking up.
So we're always saying like 80% of the DNA technology is
memory.
The other 20 we've established in the other shows what that is. So as we've been clearing all those memories, those karmic retribution memories, is that it still remains 80% memory?
After a while it becomes
what happens with that?
90% memories that we're creating uniquely today, tomorrow, and the day after. And sometimes there are certain people they don't need the 20% because they have the activation codes already. And they're there to store more memory. So when they pass on and have a life review in light, all the codes that are beyond the experience are part of that life review too, which is a greater completion for the being. Because there's in their that the person's unseen world had a lot to say during that lifetime, even though the person may have had no awareness of their unseen world. Like those people who are living the white picket fence life, they have a giant spiritual world. They just don't care about it and don't investigate into it. So that would be an example of something having all of this extra data encoded, so it's maybe 95% memory when they pass. And then as the new fetus in the new womb, it will determine, do I need these 95% memories for the next life, or have I gotten over the hump of needing these memories in some way, shape, or form stored within the body, and now can I create something new without them, and maybe go to 70% memories and more programs.
More programs that would
send them down a path of very, very needed experiences. More programs mean more focus. Like a lot of the people that end up as MIT people, super high computer programming people, yes, they have 70% more because they have all these extra programs that drive and focus them to a frequency of time that has all of these resolutions through education.
Okay, so when you say programs, I got sidetracked because I'm thinking this is again going back into karmic retribution stuff.
It is. It is. It's the karmic retribution that drives them to the education, because it's the education that ultimately is going to put them in a creative state where they maybe work for a cell phone company and they're resolving stuff for millions.
Yes. So specific stuff, because I understand that we're no longer living in a karmic creating universe.
No, we're still in a karmic creating universe. We just haven't fully ended it yet. Think of it like a football game.
Yeah, but not a creating one. We're not creating any more karma. We haven't resolved everything yet. We're still under the placebo perspective that we haven't. But we're no longer creating more. Is that correct?
Yes, we're still creating more. Yes, but it's it's not an infinite amount. Okay. Before, it was always at the infinite state. We've gone below the infinite state, and no matter what is created, it won't reach the infinite state again. But I want to give this metaphor. It's like a football game, like a European football game. The actual time is run out, and you're on medical time, whatever it is, overtime that's based off of clock stoppage. So no one really knows when it's going to end. And if it's tied score, it ends as a tie, and then they'll go into shootouts. So where we're at now is stop-loss time, okay?
Yeah. And it's quite, it's a good reminder to say that, that the global ascension machine we're finished.
Right. It's reached a point where we've created a zero-sum game for them.
Yes.
They can't outcreate the 7,300,000,000 of us, no matter how hard they try.
Exactly. So for anyone out there who, I think this is hugely liberating. Yeah. So it's all done. We just need to really now, call the system, call the propaganda and everything, and just step out of it. Choose to step out of it. It's done.
Generally, or decide to become the referee and start red carding the system and ejecting their players.
whatever makes you feel happy and light, and
right.
Also whatever creates the joy for you and the abundance, because these are the new elements and energies in this new creation of the now. Right. Everything you're supposed to be doing now is no longer hardship, and you have to persevere through it. It has to be a joyful, yes, there has to be commitment and an application, continuous application, but it's supposed to be fun.
Okay. In my journey of being a traumatologist or a traumatist, understanding the nature of traumas for people, traumas can steal the capacity to feel happiness and joy out of their choice to be traumatized.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Now, when people are making that choice-based journey out of traumatization and trying to maintain joy and happiness, high-frequency exercises such as what I teach can become challenging for them because they've been operating at the low level of energy for so long, and their background ego has said this is the top layer of everything, but it never was.
Yeah, they're still stuck in survival
Most of the time, yeah.
instead
Or
of
they don't even
thriving.
realize that they're in survival mode and they think they're thriving and super successful, even though they're operating at the lowest amount of levels. That's why a lot of these sessions that I get, and people like, why didn't you give me a galactic history like this person, because you weren't ready for it. It's not that you're an all-encompassing being. You can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Okay. And in fact, most of the time, if I were to give them who you were in the past, that's all you'd think about, and you'd never do anything in your present.
Yeah, well, that's forcing the evolution, isn't it? Instead of looking at natural evolution.
They haven't mastered enough of themselves to know why the past was that way. And then they feel a sense of entitlement, which is a huge issue in spirituality communities. I'm entitled to my motherfucking awakening. No, you're not. No, you're not. Okay? You're not entitled to awakening. You absolutely not. It's not a collective awakening. It never was a collective awakening. And the light worker community's been lying to you. Think of it as being a collective awakening. It's self-mastery, self-illumination, awakening on your own until we realize you got to come together as a collective after enough people have woken up.
So this is where we can talk about creating your bubble of realities.
So that they become solidified with a vigilant perspective and point of view that maintains your ever-evolving frequency and shedding of the old skins.
Okay. So can every single person, every individual have their own bubble of reality, and then they find like-minded bubbles of realities where they then start co-creating with? Is this the way it's going to go?
They do that already now.
Yeah. Okay.
But when you do it out of spiritual strategy and choice, you have to understand the laws of frequency, vibration, attraction, repulsion, and the tides of the universal flow and how you fit into them or don't fit into them at that particular moment to know how these little pods will form here and there. It may whimsically stay together or ephemerally stay together just for a moment, but that's a universal exchange energy that can give completion energy.
Yeah. So that again takes us back to how do we create in this new energy is not so much anymore the do, but actually the looking at the vibration, the frequency, and the harmony. And is it a match? Am I a match?
Right. And then the old time thing is, am I holding space for others to self-illuminate, or am I holding space just for me to self-illuminate, which then frees up the universe to have self-illuminated people come around me like grapes on a vine.
Yeah, that's a little bit like what we spoke about last time, isn't it? With the empath and the narcissist and all of that. I mean, all of that, we cannot have a conversation about how do we create in this new energy if we haven't done the self-mastery work. And it's not something that ever stops. It's a continuous application anyhow.
Right. It's not only... Right. Not only is it's a continuous application, but as long as you're out of the poser state and doing at least 15 minutes a day, 6 days a week, you are into the journey of self-mastery enough to say that my daily practice is raising my frequency, and you can begin to create your own bubble of reality that says to the universe, I am ready for a different experience.
Yeah, so coming, let's turn this round. So coming out of the poser state is really, can you be joyful in doing the work without having to take a picture of it, having to post it, having to talk about it, having to share it, having to teach it?
Right. And regurgitate it to something else, somebody else other than yourself, so you can learn and relearn it over and over and understand the great nuances within learning it.
Exactly. And is that information, or is that so joyful for you that you allow yourself to go over and over and over and over?
Without obsessing.
Without obsessing, yes.
Yeah.
Without obsessing.
So we'll use this 15 minutes a day, 6 days a week. Why do I say that? Why that actually gets you out of the poser state. How many calls have we heard people call in and they do one contract every other month, or once a month they do one, and they think that's enough. They think that's daily work. Once a month is daily work. Janae, all the time. Why? Because that's all they can maintain. That's somebody that's at the super low voltage. And when you start doing 6 days a week, okay, even if it 1 week it's 5, 1 week it's 6, 1 week, you balance it out of joyful choice that this 15 minutes is for me as part of my ever evolving strategy to raise my frequency, and that I'm committed to doing it because I know raising my frequency will change the states of my awareness and give me all these new choices to do things with.
Yeah. And don't get hung up about doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
There's so much. There's such a variety out there. You don't have to read contract publications for every day for the week, but you can use your body to have some fun with. You can have nature. You can use movement. You know, there's so much else. You know, sacred, yes, ceremony, but it doesn't have to be all that.
Right. And I tell people about 2 hours a month in ceremony. Okay. And that's for people that are past the intermediate level. 2 hours of ceremony. Doing the ritual, the 4 corners of your bed and the 4 corners of your room, after practicing it a while, you have it done in 5 minutes because the adult intent and the protective nature is there. Just don't get lazy with that 5 minutes. Make yourself truly a part of the experience because you know what it does for your dreaming state.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 extra hours, 15 minutes a day and 2 extra hours a month is not asking a lot. Okay. No. That gets you to that intermediate state where you are definitely out of posing, but it poses something to you. What is my next level of self-mastery? How do I make this 2 hours more effective?
And are you willing to go down that road? You know, there's often with that, you know, there's so much distraction out there. I was just thinking, you're talking about competition and hierarchy. What's going to happen with our sports when people start actually realizing that non-competition can be fun too, you know?
Right.
And I mean, yes, I can see it. I mean, I remember teaching, you know, when I was working with the tennis players, I always said, you've got to play from a place of joyfulness. How can you enjoy almost co-creating with your opponent? But that went in and out and like, whoa, what the fuck is she talking about? You know, that type of stuff. So everything, all of that industry will have to undergo a huge deconstruction and reconstruction, right?
Yes, where it's about the individual player's success and how they make the team better.
Exactly.
Or the goal is not to have one team win, but to have all team win in a very unique way that celebrates everyone's, because one person may be better at this subject matter than this one, where there's a collective going, hey, you do that well, you do that well. And the planning and the execution is the experience.
So this is a huge arena, a huge area which needs changing, you know, which will change. And that's just the sports now. Look at all the other stuff in this reality that will have to change according to non-hierarchy, you know, competition and all of that. So there is masses of possibilities out there for you to step into and say, okay, how can I create that change here?
So I want to add this: not all hierarchy and not all competition is bad. Example, political competition is really negative. There are some sports where the competition becomes negative because of the state of the fans, not the state of the players. And then there's an understanding that all of these sports games, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, so on and so forth, every player is resolving war-based karma and not being eaten by the tigers anymore in the gladiatorial realms. Okay? And the amount of sports betting that's on each and every game is a different form of karmic warfare. Once you take sports betting and the karmic interaction of teams, and there's an awareness of it, and players use spiritual hygiene, the game will change to have a more non-competitive nature, even though there's a winner at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, everything we're discussing here, it's not about good or bad. It's just everything is looking at what can we be and do in order to change that. And also, from a creative perspective, asking yourself, what is my superpower? What is my superpower that I can actually, and superpowers is so interesting. If you think about it, if you look at all these superheroes, they always have to hide. They always have to put masks on in order for hiding. It's just the opposite, to what actually we should be completely obvious and open. This is my superpower, and how can you use your superpower to create some of those changes in this new energy.
Right. In the journey to accepting your superpower and publicly saying this is my superpower, right now culture has a big challenge with that. A big challenge with people saying they have a superpower. And I've said this many times, what my main superpower is, I'm a grandmaster of the obvious. Okay? Now, you've heard me talk about that in the mentorship class a lot. Learning to be your own grandmaster of the obvious. It's your birthright and legacy. Because what is obvious to one is not obvious to another. And when I'm doing readings and sessions, there's the obvious, which no one else sees. But how do I state the obvious back to a person who doesn't see it?
And I like what you're saying here, because that's such a good example, because the superpower is usually the one thing that you wouldn't even consider as a power, right? Because it's so innately ease for you, Yeah. So that's a good question to ask yourself, to add to all of that creation business here we're talking about today.
Right. So anybody that's listening right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or any other platforms and wants to be a part of the Zoom room, this is where we answer questions from the chat room. It's where we'll be taking calls. Robert has information up on the screen right now that allows you to come and be a part of the chat room in the call-in room. You go to zoom.us. And you put the meeting number, which is 911-001-1974. And then you can click raise your hand. And what that does says who wants to be a caller on our shows. This is the only place on the broadcast platform where we will take callers. If you want to call in via a phone, on the right side of the screen is all of the information for you to call in via phone, where you'll still be able to raise your hand and still be able to get to be a caller. Now, we'll be taking callers here in just a few minutes. And if you have questions right now and want to begin to raise your hand, go ahead and raise your hand now, and we'll be getting to people just shortly. Now, Martina, we've just done about an hour of some pretty intense conversations on the nature of choice, self-illumination, celestial medium of peace. And there's one more area that I want to touch on. And we talk about traumas all the time and how they limit each other, limit people. We live in a very traumatized world. But there comes a point, no matter how much you've been traumatized, you have to make what I call a macro volt choice to get out of the trauma and continue to make macro volt choices. Even when you're being harvested on by your friends and family who are taking life force away from you for whatever the reason, it is a higher level of choice that one has to tap into. It's the same higher level of choice one taps into to be a celestial medium of peace with a self-illuminated master. Even if you've not even begun the journey, it's the same mechanical choice to step that energy that is there and fill you full of your own light that you hold on to and you retain. And you begin to expel the charge and polarity that's just stored there to create argument, debate, and divisiveness. Okay?
Yeah. Well, there's a choice point you get to where you've got to ask yourself, am I willing to be happy?
Right.
Am I willing to be successful? Am I willing to, stand out?
Have
am I willing?
have self-worth.
Am I willing to be the leader, to become the leader? And is now the time to stop limiting myself and playing small? These are the questions you got to keep asking yourself, and the body and your environment will tell you. Because if you're not stepping into that potency that you can truly be, you won't be successful, you won't be making money, you won't be having partners that you want to have, and stuff like that. So it's quite simple, really.
Right. But people face this simple choice and can't break by it year after year, decade after decade, until such a point they've locked themselves into a set of choice points that are, the immovable object.
Yeah, and that's what therapists are for. That's what shows like this are for. And there's no excuse, because how many shows have you done, and they're all free. You just got to listen to it. You got to transcribe them and choose and pick whatever works for you. It's one of those things. This is choice. This is what choice is. Are you going to choose it?
Yeah. So for all those people right now that have a friend or a family member that they know has been that level of traumatized, or you're one of those people, what I want you to do is to right now say to yourself, every day I have to make the choice to tap into the macrovolt me and store this energy. So each and every day in my future, as I step into my future, I have more energy to make more choices. And you don't give this energy away to anyone else's. Stop allowing other people's emergencies to override your emergencies. Acknowledge that you're in a healing crisis. Acknowledge that you do need a laying of hands or the touch of a human being to help you go through an emotional state. You're not meant to do absolutely everything on your own. You hear me say inner work is the alone journey, yes. But there are times you need a comforting touch. You need a hug, or you need somebody that has unique special healing skills that can help clear out some of these hardened choices that become fibrotic in the body.
And I want to add something to this one here. It's like being a rebel is so old paradigm.
That's right. Thank you.
Because, and there was a value to being a rebel at some stage in your life, for sure. Yeah, born into the wrong soul family, into the wrong family, blah, 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 whatever that is. But at this stage of your life now, it's no longer a contribution to you to carry on being the rebel. It's just not cool.
Right. And that's why I tell people, fire a rebel. Pink slip them.
Yeah.
Get them out of there.
Yeah.
No severance pay, nothing. Fired. And watch it come back.
It's a big percentage of people who fall under that and who just don't see that they're just rebelling. All you're rebelling against is yourself.
Ultimately, when you realize you're rebelling against yourself, it's the self-defeating habit pattern that stops the macrovolt you living the mystical life daily.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it doesn't allow you to commit. It doesn't allow you to choose for you and as you.
Right. Which means you're truly being run by a collective of programs that are there to limit you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the rebel isn't one part of you. It's just the master manipulator.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you get rid of the master manipulator, the individual manipulative programs are easy to break down.
Yeah. And this is where choice creates, okay? You don't even need to know what that looks like at the time when you choose it. You can just say, I'm fucking choosing this now. Now, universe, if you wish, help me with this. Show me what it looks like. And then allow the awarenesses to come to you, because they will start flowing in as soon as you choose it.
And as those choices flow through you, your awareness will expand simply out of seeing more choices. Oh, this choice makes all these other sub-choices.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't thought about that. And how is this connected? Yeah. And then it becomes kind of fun, because it becomes like, curious, and you become
fresh pattern recognition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So on those people that are traumatized and that have solidified their choices, but are trying to be spiritual and are still at that poser state and can't get over the hump of being a poser because they're not storing their own energy. Now, don't take offense from me calling you a poser. It just means you're at a state where the choices you are making are not storing enough energy so that you can jumpstart the engine with no gasoline in it. You've got to have fuel. You've got to eat sensibly. Okay, 40 grams of protein a day. The most advantageous anybody that's in a traumatized state is to start counting your protein. Learning the math of food, okay? And then doing some type of basic colon cleansing, which is not a little pill you take that's going to make you 1 or 2 extra shits. Actually, a 2-week kit, or go and do the colonics. That steps you out of posing. So many people have so much compacted feces in them. It's actually what stops you from having energy to store more energy. So anyone that's shit. You're literally full of shit. Okay? Prunes are your friend. Okay? Okay? Learn about what actual colon cleansing means, and don't fake it till you make it in colon cleansing, because it never works. The next thing is, so many people that are at that state self-diagnose medical issues, which traps them in a vicious cycle of self-diagnosis, and most of the time they get it wrong. Okay? How many, Martina, in your situation, you're seeing clients that are self-diagnosing, you're going, you're totally wrong?
It's so easy nowadays. Google.
Right.
You know, it's one of the worst things you can do. You just put yourself into fear and completely distract from what is actually required, you know, instead of going to a professional and get a different perspective and the point of view. And having said that, even that doesn't necessarily give you the answers that you require, but you have to keep an open mind. If you do want to Google it and look, don't just stick with that. Go and get a couple of opinions.
Mm-hmm. And guess what? You don't have to visit an allopathic doctor. There are plenty of naturopaths and homeopaths out there who are going to have a far better diagnosis journey than you do. Okay? So traumatized people, count your protein, stop self-diagnosing, and allow someone to do body work on you. You will be able to get back into the macrovolt choice with those 3 basic concepts. And Martina, what is real body work? Not once every year. No, not once every 5 years.
Continuous application, yeah. At least a sequence of, you know, like if you go to a craniosacral. I mean, when I went to the cranio, I did 15 sessions, yeah, just to really allow the body, you know, to come back into the body and allow the work to take place. And you know what? It's you know, I became a therapist in 2005, and just by becoming a therapist, learning, going the weekends, having continuous, you know, body application through learning it was a great way of doing it. You know, releasing a lot of stuff. So you know, if you are inclined to wanting to help other people and yourself at the same time, learn a body work, a modality. You're going to gain so much from it yourself as you learn it, and then of course as you start applying it to other people.
Okay. And once you follow these steps, now a lot of people want to jump right into colonics and they become expensive. There is something that's called a home colema board. Now, enemas only do so much to the lower colon. If you truly want to cleanse the whole system, you've got to be laying on your back for an extended period of time, 30 to 60 minutes, in which you have a board that's flit over your toilet with a dome on it and your legs up in the air. It's just like doing a colonic, except you're doing it at home. You can go to a website called CaliforniaColemaBoards.com and get a board for $150 with the entire kit, but it's going to require you to actually truly educate yourself, like reading a damn book on what colemas really are versus watching a bunch of YouTube videos and truly bumbling your way through the experience. Okay? You can then, what would be $1,000 to $1,500 in colon cleansing, you can get done in a month for $160. Shipped, everything. But you have to be dedicated into the education. You also have to be dedicated when you're going to go self-inserting and the cleanup afterwards to truly understand what the Colima is doing. It's bringing fluid, warm water-based solution fluid, all the way up to the highest parts of your intestinal tract, and it's looking for petrified feces that will rapidly absorb the water and then shoot out your lower thing. Like in a colon cleanse, you may have a colonic, you may have 5 or 6 flushes. When you learn how to do a Colima, you could have 10 to 20 flushes. So that means a Colima board, when you learn to master it, can be equivalent of 4 to 5 colonics. Yeah. Okay. And then at the end, you can do a coffee enema with the Colima board. That's far more effective because the coffee enema is not staying just in the lower rectum area. The whole intestinal tract that's just been cleared is absorbing that coffee frequency, which then is going to be expelled out with a huge liver release, a huge gallbladder release. And yes, when you learn to master colonics or Colima boards, you can have massive dumps of the liver, the gallbladder, and the kidneys every time you use it when you're in that comfortable state. The other thing is, a lot of people who try the Colima board for the first time, they bloat up and they don't know how to get out of that bloaty feeling. There's a massage technique that you can learn while you're laying on the board to get that bloating energy out. That bloating energy means like a piece of petrified feces has tapped water and like a can of beer is creating all this foam inside you. Okay? These 4 basic concepts that I just talked about, no matter how traumatized you think you are, this will give you clarity enough to bring in more and more and more and more. And let me tell you something. I've had people to come to tell me I've done a Colima every day for 20 years, and I'm like, are you an idiot? That's destructive to your body.
Sacred neutral, yes.
Okay? I mean, poof, that's destructive to your body. Yeah, you do a round every other day or every 3 days until you've reached about 15. And then you stop for an extended period of time, do full probiotic restart. And then if you want once a month, do one. That'll be the best money you ever invest in yourself.
And in addition to that, you're getting your energy back and you're getting clarity. You're actually clearing out your intestinal tract so that your dreaming body can actually have a much nicer journey. And this brings us back. He loves talking about colonics, obviously, but coming back to how do we create with all of that is when we start connecting to our dream time and dream societies better, then we will have more information and awareness in order to create how to create.
Exactly. So Robert, can you put up the information once again for people how to come and join the Zoom room? And then the same information, if you're calling in via phone, what button you have to so that they can raise their hand? I believe they have to hit the 3 dots on the bottom of their screen. And you have to hit the 3 dots. So all these people that are dial in via phone numbers there, no matter what device you're on, just look at the bottom of your Zoom screen and you'll see 3 little dots that allow you to raise your hand. Now, anybody else that wants to be a part of the callers, we're about to take callers here. So this is your chance to be a part of what is called the Wheel of Callers. So Martina and I have no choice over who is being selected. It is totally to Robert's random universal selection. So Robert, spin up the Wheel of Callers and see who the universe presents to us today.
Alrighty, first caller today will be Sarah. Sarah, guest, you're unmuted.
Sarah, are you there?
Yeah, I am, as a matter of fact. How are you today?
Great. Where are you calling from?
Folsom, California.
Folsom, California. So what do you think of our conversation today so far?
It is so spot on. Talking about the body work. I'm one of those that is in the poser category.
Okay.
And
was that hard for you to accept?
Oh yeah, actually, of course. Yep, I'm also in that rebel shit. I've been telling myself to fuck off for how long now? I can't even.
Okay. What have you learned about the rebel poser state so far?
it's so self-defeating, but it's just so familiar and comfortable. It's like, you know, you look at that picture of James Dean, Rebel Without a Cause. I haven't even seen the movie, but it's so iconic that it's like almost archetypal.
So what is the big thing you want to ask us today?
With the a la carte system of belief, I have recognized that since I was about 9 years old. And how do we, to match up with today's conversation, how do we understand the difference between that macrovolt and the microvolt in the choices? Is it the feeling in the gut? Is it, how do we cultivate that sense of knowing and release that shadow of doubt that we just so lay our heads into? Oh, it's so familiar. I think I'll just go with that.
So that's choosing a lower voltage choice.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
But there are times we delude ourselves to thinking that the immediate choice is what? Higher voltage. But it never was to begin with.
So how do we begin to recognize that and just go, okay, I'm so tired of hitting my head against the wall. I'm going to make a different choice.
I want to bring Martina in to give you a female perspective of the macro living the macro life choice. Go ahead, Martina.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're saying, darling. And I think, you know, how much of our identity has been created through those limitations. Yeah. And by keep on choosing those limitations, but keep on choosing the rebel, but keep on, you know, and it's, you know, you already know what you're doing. You already know that you're a rebel. You came in to say, I'm a rebel and I'm this. So now it's a matter of, I'm choosing it. And very often to look at it from that perspective is, what is it that I actually would like to be? What would I like to create? So often we don't see the choices that we could make because we're focusing on the judgment of ourselves, you know? It's like, I'm this and this, you know, so what is it actually that you would like to create? And then look at it from that perspective. And then I'll ask the question, so what tiny little choice can I make today to create an awareness for what's out there for me?
So it does sometimes really just come down to which is going to feel better. And that's why it's so important to take these moments to breathe deeply, especially when we find ourselves just stuck in a moment. I myself, I find myself getting triggered, and then I immediately want to go into defensive and a rage state. And I at this point, I'm counting it a victory that I recognize it, and then I can stop sometimes and take that deep breath and try to let it go. And how Andrew speaks about the sacred neutral, to try to rest in that. But
so we're also talking about conscious application, you know?
Yes.
So breathing is good. Yeah. That's good. When you find yourself in that space, you have the awareness, this is my old pattern. So you take a deep breath. That's good. And then you need to get out of judgment somehow. So this one tool to get out of judgment, which I give all the time, is like just acknowledging, oh, this is interesting that I'm doing this again. Yeah. And you say it again. This is interesting that I'm doing this. This is interesting that I'm doing this. This is interesting that I'm doing this. You acknowledge it. And as you do, the energy starts already changing. Okay? It's really just interesting. You must, as soon as you go into judgment, you go into stuck states. stage.
You
can't create from
as soon as you go into judgment, you then what?
You go into stuck stage.
Yes. Stuck. Yes.
So you need to get yourself out of that judgment.
And once you're in the stuck state, you're surrounded by anger, which has boiled into rage.
Yeah.
That means all the stored charge and polarity that you haven't dealt with over the whole lifetime is like an avalanche waiting to be triggered and it flow out on whatever's in front of you.
Yeah.
Which isn't choice anymore.
Is that part of the programming? Is that falling back into old habit pattern? Is that part of the self-defense mechanism that?
The avalanche scenario is you just not doing inner work, even though you've known to need to do it for many years in a row. Being at that poser state where you pretended just letting off a little steam was enough until such a time you've got warehouse, magazine racks of issues over and over, all these back due issues that have never been looked at.
Yep.
Okay. Well, all you got to do is metaphorically throw the issues on the fire and begin the ceremony of release.
Now, that's another question that is sparked for me. Mm-hmm. The ceremonies, I kind of want it. You can hear me getting stuck on it already.
Yep. Rebel.
Yep, absolutely. Is things like making your bed every day, the simple things like that?
It can be. It can be a part of consistency, but doing the four corners of your bed as a ritual is completely separate of all that. It's conscious application of your sacred art of awareness and the responsibility to your awareness. Conscious application of the sacred art of implementing your will.
Responsibility to your awareness.
Mm-hmm. And your level of awareness is equal to your level of responsibility.
And as a rebel as well, you've got to actually, start realizing that you're trying to prove to yourself continuously that you can't do it.
Stop trying to prove to yourself that you can't do it.
That's right.
Oh, shit.
Self-validation of lessering your energies.
So what are you proving? Mm-hmm. What are you trying to prove to yourself that you can't do it?
Okay.
And let that go.
That clicks, and so it's just a matter of just recognizing it and letting it go, because I find myself wanting to defend against that and say, well, why did that come to be? Exactly. Where did that start? But it really doesn't matter.
Everything you're defending against will hold you captured, will hold you imprisoned.
So it's kind of like in that Harry Potter section where you're in that devil's snare, is it? Where Ron needed to just fucking relax, let go, and it'll let go of you.
I haven't watched Harry Potter, but relax, let go, and out of judgment sounds good, yeah?
Martina, you've never watched Harry Potter?
No.
Come on. You need to watch all of those, and you need to read all of the books.
No.
Absolutely.
Books were
fabulous. I read the books long before the movies came out, and I have to give out that J.K. Rowling, that was a mystical book she wrote. Mystical.
Oh, yes. She got herself out of the way, and she just let that shit flow. That was just freaking beautiful.
Okay.
So to answer your question, it's like it is like that situation where he's got to face his fear and control his fear and humiliate the fear thing. Yeah. Yes. So it is similar to that. But you're in a state where the rebel has been running you for so long, you believe it's propaganda.
Oh, fuck yeah. Since I was like 9-10 years old.
Okay. So
I bought into that shit, and I'm almost 49 now. So it's fuck.
You actually have to write down what your rebel's propaganda is.
Oh, fuck.
Because your rebel does have a cause. When you start writing it down, you're going to make pattern recognitions about this rebel's manifesto of controlling you.
Oh, awesome. So, okay, that's an excellent thing for a meditation focus. What's your propaganda?
And literally, you will have to sack the rebel. You will have to release it. Pink slip it. Yeah.
Right.
It's almost like, as I said early on, there was a value at some stage that you had it. It helped you survive. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure about that, because that's usually what happens. And then at some stage, it turns into its own little entity, and it becomes an internal sort of demon at that stage, where it is no longer a contribution to you.
Does any point, does it matter, or can it make a difference to locate those points when the hooks came in and it no longer became a defense mechanism? Should we consider, why did we adopt that as a defense mechanism?
I want to pop in here real quick. All too often, finding the reason why means you're never going to solve the whole situation.
Okay,
you can beat it without having to know why. You can go for the extra credit after you've beat it and find out why, which will then lead you to a whole other set of healing scenarios.
Okay, but you have to let it go first.
No, you have to uncreate it. And many of the choice points that were keeping you locked into that scenario, so that you don't fall back to the habit of the old choices instantly being made for you.
Okay, so get good at recognizing those points and going the opposite direction.
No,
is it kind of
creating a counter frequency, which is your positive, strategic, spiritual direction into raising your frequency and raising your awareness, which then will raise your responsibility to be you more.
Hold on. Okay, so create counter frequency.
Yes, flip the frequency on the propaganda you recognize in the moment. Shadow says you have to choose this. No, Shadow, I don't have to choose this. I choose to produce more light instead of lessening my light.
So it's like activating a reverse diode.
Exactly.
Oh, fucking hell. Okay.
It can be broken down to a 0 and 1 like that, because most rebel programs are 0s and 1s.
Oh, well, it ultimately comes down to that. Ultimately, right? It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, there comes a point where some rebels or egos or something are no longer operating on 0s and 1s. That means they've tapped fully into your vagus nerve and using your psychic skills against you. Now, Martina, you and I have gone so deep into the vagus nerve and how our psychic skills can be literally used against us in the creation of propaganda.
Oh, that sucks. So really, it would benefit me to take a look at the vagus nerve and in relationship to the frequency.
In fact, yeah, vagus, any type of vagus, there's a vagus nerve. We have a vagus nerve meditation, which comes with a couple of clearings that I've written at some stage. That is available. I know it's on the earthniveau.com, but we can always make it available on here too. So that's something to look at. And the other thing, are you good with visualizing?
Yes.
Because, the dissociation method is always good. So when you meet your rebel, here's the rebel. So just take him or her, whatever, the representation is, put him outside of yourself and actually have a little chat and say, look, this does no longer work for me. We got to do something. And then you can either disconnect from him right there, or just say him now, whatever that is.
Sure.
And actually dissociate yourself. Have a little conversation and say, okay, that's enough now, and let it go. Thank you. Yeah. earthniveau.com. Got the vagus nerve meditation on it.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
There. Yeah, it's there in the chat room. So,
Yeah.
Darla, let me ask you one probative question. What is the major trauma that has created your inability to evolve?
That's a good question. I don't know. Do we go back to the beginning that we can recognize?
Just in this moment of now, try to find an answer that isn't a guess. Rebel's telling you all these answers that are guesses because it doesn't want you to know the truth.
I'll just take, we'll go with molestation as a young child.
Okay. Fundamental part of you. Distrust.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. What
Which
can you do
consider
right
to be
now?
Your God source, right?
What can you do right now to produce light, even though that trauma is there? So that traumatized youngest version of you can feel your adult light that's saying, I'm the one that's alive today. I'm the one that's on the journey today to heal all of our aspects.
All of our aspects.
Mm-hmm. All of the traumatized you that make the collective traumatized you.
That stem back to whatever I consider to be the original trauma.
Mm-hmm. But what can you do right now to produce light so that the youngest traumatized version of you feels that light?
Be grateful for the sunshine that I can see right now that allows me to honor the ever-present youth, that ever-present choice in whatever choice it is that I made in that original trauma moment that extends all the way to the now through my ancestors, through my bloodline, my lineage, to say that I am a part of that and I have grown from that. However shitty I might think that is, I'm going to be the best mango that I can be and let my sweetness ooze forth, because it all is a part of me and it's all okay. Even the rebel, thank you very much for being a part.
You did it.
And let it go. And let it go.
Day by day, day by day, week by week, you'll let go huge chunks of it, and you'll begin to shed dozens of skins.
It is time. I'm entering into that menopausal state, and you speak of the crone stage, and I've always wanted to be a great old woman. I want to be that little Moana grandma. I want to make it to 111, because in that particular year, there's all kinds of shit that's supposed to be happening, and I think that's part of why I chose this particular incarnation and all these little challenges. And I know, thank you so much, very, very much.
You're welcome. And you don't want to end up a cranky old Karen.
Oh, fuck no. Fuck the Karens and the Kens and all the little Barbie dolls. And I'm supposed to be this and I'm supposed to do that.
Karens and Kens are just run by their rebels.
Right. Oh, beautiful.
Run by their rebels.
It's so fucking funny. Maybe I'll eventually let go of cigarette smoking. Maybe not. I don't know. But
it's okay. Don't feel guilty about it. I'm smoking one right now.
Yeah, don't listen to him.
There'll be judgment. I don't care, because guess what?
That was part of the reason I started smoking, was because right at that stage in my life,
you needed it.
Everybody shouldn't smoke. I was like, fuck you. Okay, you do you.
You needed it to ground into your body. That's what tobacco does.
Oh, fucking hell. Okay.
So I want you to just to sit back a second and notice that flow that you just did had zero rebel behind it. And it didn't take a lot of effort to do it, did it?
No, sir, it didn't. No, it really didn't.
It really didn't. All you got to do is figure out how you can do that 15 minutes a day, and you're not going to be a poser 5-6 days a week.
I am stretching for it, I tell you.
Okay.
You
can do it. You can do it. And you're just going to melt away these traumas. Melt them away. Like
that sounds good.
Melissa, also tomorrow we have our Earth Nouveau Zoom at 5:00 UK time, and we're talking about abuse. So if you want to come on to this one, I've written an abuse revocation, which we're going to go through. So that might be interesting for you.
Oh, fantastic. And that will be on the Zoom?
Yeah, it's a Zoom one at 5:00 UK time. Yeah.
Andrew, what time is that your time?
12 o'clock. 12 o'clock Eastern.
Thank you.
Okay. Sarah, thank you so much for calling in. You've been a big teacher for a lot of people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see what the universe brings to us next.
Alrighty, Aaron Webb, you're unmuted with
Aaron
Martina.
Webb, are you there?
I am.
Aaron, hi, where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Kingwood, Texas.
Kingwood, Texas. Welcome to the show. What do you think about what we're talking about so far?
It really speaks to me. I had 2 weeks ago, I had an individual with you.
I remember.
Yes. Yes.
How have things been since then?
I traveled back to California to family, and so it brought up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of trauma.
Mm-hmm. So what is it that you want to talk to us today about?
I wrote something after doing a flow. I'm nervous.
Okay. Share it with us.
Sure. Okay. Because one of the things that you had asked me to do is do some writing. And so this is it. Jewel tones. I am you, you are we are one. Here in the ever-present now. I dive, you dive, we dive, tides, ebb, flows. In me, in you, in us, one. Magic notes, music play, scales ride, elevators. Waves crash, cleanse purity, blood, blooms red, blooms rose nectar. Queen Sophia floats veils, transform. Essence, jeweled faucets, crystalline light, fragments beam. Rainbows reflecting vibrations, golden sun, floating oneness. Shivers quiver, spines erect, salute goose, feathered pimples, encase anticipation. Flight, soar glide, slick, deep blue sea. Rides waves, flips fins, censors her majesty. Crown of lights, empowered balance, insights tenders, ignites tenders, sorry. I'm shaking. Imagination roams, unlit lands, here then to come are one.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
And you were shaking through that because
Yes,
it was such macro volt energy flowing through you.
Yeah.
Okay. You tapped into the macro volt to create that beautiful piece of self-evolution.
Correct.
Now what? Okay.
Powerful,
Now I gotta say this. Now what? Now that you've done that, are there more macro volt words to come out?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Then find that the inner writer, inner poet, inner spiritual person that can put words to the stuff you're experiencing.
Perfect. Yeah, it's taken on an evolution in terms of taking my therapy practice to the next level. And always when I fly is when I get a lot of my downloads. Travel for me, any sort of movement. And I started coming up with how to take my current sort of more secular way of looking at teachings through my therapy practice on a social level into adding in like the trinity of the spiritual. So bringing that and teaching that to a lot of the children that I work with autism, and adding in a parent element and doing it virtual. So I've been studying the way you do it via the Zoom meetings and created my logo yesterday. So I'm ready. I'm ready.
So what are you not ready for?
I'm not ready for how I'm going to be perceived by others, which you tapped into big time.
Why does that matter?
Because then I'll be called crazy.
So what? What do their opinions? Why do their opinions have to have such?
last time crazy ended me up someplace I didn't want to be. So
that's last time. It's not this time.
Correct. I'm grounded this time.
Okay. So Martina, what do you have to add?
What if them calling you crazy is actually a compliment?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, one of the things that I have definitely, yeah.
Would you want to be normal like them?
No, I'm not. that's why I am in the place I am right now. Because I'm not normal. Yeah.
So anything that doesn't allow you to be crazy and fucked up and messed up and whatever else, just let that go. The best compliment you can get. Question is, how can you make money with it? Whenever somebody calls you crazy, you've got to say in your own mind, how can I make money with that?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Turn it around.
So I've had success in the past by doing that and following that intuition. I just haven't from a more secular point of view. And so adding in this extra level, like I have no doubt that it will be coming. So I have faith in that part.
The journey of the self-illuminated master has to go through the ocean of craziness.
Yeah, I believe I've done that. And I'm out on the other side, so that's good.
Cool.
I did in my reading, which Andrew did for me, he talked about trauma in the womb, and that was really powerful. And I did start doing that meditation and crying out to the twin that I lost, and it was so powerful. Like I could feel them coming in to me and the heat within my body, and just I think just bringing back those soul shards, and it was
your birthright and legacy to yourself for you to create that meditation and follow through with it.
Yeah. Because and I think that, and then that was, I wrote, I believe after listening to that, or I don't know when I wrote this, but it was this past weekend I was doing all the soul work, and it's still it's new. It's new. I was raised and lived a life without a spiritual sense of self, and I'm now reclaiming it. So
with vigilance.
Vigilance. I started Reiki. I like to call it Reiki, and it's been powerful. So I thank you both for all of your guidance. Feel like I found a part of my soul family.
Wonderful. So what advice do you have to give to all the other callers out there who are still at that poser state and want to jump beyond it?
Oh gosh, the best one for me, I had always the pineal gland was always in my studies in terms of from a scientific perspective, and then when I heard it talked about more here, and I'd moved across the country and always had depressive symptoms when I was in lands of mist and rain, and when I was living, and so I realized, okay, the sun is definitely it. So doing the sun meditation is imperative. That really opens up what's going on. So that was really, really important to add that into my daily life. So I've started doing that, and there's been a huge opening there. I think it's really important to find where you are blocked, where that trauma is from, and begin to expose it very honestly in a loving, kind manner. Rock it just like you're in the womb with it, and figure out what's holding you back. So
well said. Thanks a lot for calling in. You've been a great teacher to a lot of people.
Beautiful. Love you guys.
Love you too, darling. Take it easy. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who is next.
Alrighty, Len, you're unmuted.
Len, are you there?
Hey, yeah, I'm here, Andrew. How you doing?
Hi, where are you calling from today?
From Florida.
Welcome to the show. What do you want to talk about today?
A couple of things. Just, we talked about trauma today, and that kind of hit home because it's something that we had a session about, and yeah, I'm still dealing with it, but I began to pull out of it like very well, but I feel like I let the program come back in a little bit and start to run me for the last a little while, like a couple months now.
What program?
Letting it self-defeating, the self-diagnosis, the giving into the elements of the body, things like that.
So what are you going to do to stop it from winning?
First of all, I have to recenter myself in my mind. I think I've been neglecting I've been neglecting my, daily meditations and daily practices and things like that. But it's it's one of those things where, you indulge in certain foods or you indulge in certain things, and then it takes effect. And once it has its effect, like it brings up a moment for you to make a choice to say, this isn't going to affect me anymore. And then sometimes I give into that moment, and then it still, brings me back to where I was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, food's been a big thing, and I'm coming out of it. I know I am.
So what is it going to take you to get over the hump?
More practice.
Okay. And why is it easy for you to ignore practice?
It's funny that you mentioned that. It's probably because I know I can do it, and it's just like it's one of those things where I feel like, it can be done whenever. I don't have to do it today, even though it affects me every single day.
Okay. Thus, why scheduling is so vitally important, and holding yourself accountable to that strategic, sacred implementation and sacred application of your choice.
Yeah.
Okay. Start a calendar and look back. What did I do last week? Absolutely jack shit. What am I going to do this week? Double up and make success. Hold yourself accountable to the choices you make.
Yeah. I guess I'm being lazy.
Or you're allowing yourself to choose boredom as a state of being. And laziness is a byproduct of boredom.
Now, when you say boredom, because I don't find that I'm ever really bored, ever.
Yes, you are.
Can you
if you were doing the work, you'd be challenging your brain and expanding yourself. You're in a state of using boredom to not use your brain.
Huh.
Because you've been around a bunch of idiots for a long period of time.
That's very true.
Who have lowered your intelligence level and your comprehension skills.
That's also
and for you to rediscover your sacred inner genius, you got to let go of the idiots. They can still be your friends, but they can't be so connected to you that they imprint on you boredom. Because you can go and have a great time by doing your sacred work and implementing it, and still go out with the idiots and have a fun time.
Yeah, I feel that.
Okay? You just haven't learned to be able to operate in both realms.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Most of like everything that you talk about and everything that I listen to and all these things are apparent to me. It's just and I'm watching them happen. It's just hard. It's just making that full-on choice is what's really not happening for me yet.
Which is getting out of the disassociative state. And I want to bring Martina in here to talk about boredom and the disassociative state and her perspective on what's really going on with parts of you.
Yeah, I'm wondering, you said something about a total choice.
Yeah.
You just mentioned total choice. What if there is no such thing as a total choice? What if there is just one little choice at the time? Because boredom is actually a lie. Have you ever thought of that?
No, not in that way, no.
You can never really be bored. Where did you buy that? Who did you buy that from? Or let me ask you, who are you being when you do boredom?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like I normally don't feel bored, you know. So it's like I'm always doing something, and maybe
Exactly.
it's distractions for me. So I don't, you know, maybe that's what you consider boredom, the distractions that take me away from my inner work.
What is your initial question? Give me your initial question so I can hone in.
Basically, what can better help me defeat these traumas or the trauma that I've been dealing with.
So we're talking about choice the whole time. So it is choice. It's one single choice, one step at a time. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about you being depleted quite a bit by your surrounding and everything. So it's like choosing one step at a time, to acknowledging this is happening right now, and what can I choose right now to get out of this, to claim me, to choose for me and as me. And every choice that you make, everything that you do on a daily basis, just ask yourself, if I do this right now, or if I don't do this right now, is this choosing me? Is this choosing for me and as me? Or is this not choosing for me and as me?
Okay.
The thing is, it sounds so like nothingness. Choice creates awareness. Question creates awareness. When you're in the stuck state and you're looking for an answer, you're going to ask a question. And then the question will start dissipating that stuck energy, and it will give you an awareness. It will create new possibilities for yourself. But don't run away from the first step into the big choices. Just stay with that one particular question. What can I do with this? How can I change this?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know what? Just stay with that one bloody question.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever that is, how can I change this? Universe, show me, how can I change this? And just keep asking it. Let that be your mantra. Yeah. The question is the tool. The question is the mantra that starts opening up new possibilities.
Yeah.
What is this? What can I do with this? How can I change this? What is this? How can I change this? Keep asking and see what happens.
So what I want to add in here is the boredom state. You are using all of these distractions so that you don't have to use your genius. And that is boredom for you right now. Okay?
Yeah.
And right now, self-work requires your genius. So all those distractions are getting you away from using the genius.
That makes a lot of sense, because like the last 2 to 3 weeks or so, I stopped doing many projects and started to focus on purely one, which is my artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And just like focusing on bettering that and focusing on one thing in particular.
Did it become obsessive?
Not so much obsessive as it is like me being a completionist, meaning I started it, so I kind of want to just finish this project kind of thing,
Good idea. Good way to see it.
Yeah, because if I was obsessing about it, it'd be like, oh, I have to do a piece every single day kind of thing, and I used to do that a long time ago, but not anymore.
Okay.
But it makes a lot of sense, because as I'm coming into like that mentality of like slowing down and focusing on one thing, I do notice my mind is clearing up, like a lot, and I have noticed that. So I guess I was one of the next questions I had is like artwork is my art is that sometimes I can't do it whenever I want. Sometimes it's like I'm just triggered to do it as like a release,
So your artist is a moody bitch?
A little bit, yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is what I call starting a engine with no oil in it. And sometimes you can't force it. Like I write all these weird, crazy, powerful sayings, and so does Martina. But there also goes long phases where we don't write because we're storing up the energy to do it.
Okay.
In the past, the old pattern was to make, and not really worry about quality. Okay?
Yeah.
Then what I can suggest is there are other artistic things that aren't in your normal realm of doing, like go pick up a box of clay or pick up Legos. It still is artistic. It's just a different form of using those neural pathways. Okay. What kind of art are you doing?
Digital illustrations, digital paintings.
Okay. So what is another form of art that you could do?
Oh, I mean, I've done so many different things. That's why like I slowed down. So I was doing actual painting. I was doing writing, like creating books.
Okay.
What else was there? Spray painting. Like there's a lot that I was delving into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any Legos at your house?
I don't. I used to.
Okay. Go get some.
I might have to now.
Okay.
Do you know what calms me down when I get into that sort of state where I can't focus or I over focus? I actually draw literally with my hands and the pen.
Oh, like free flow drawing kind of thing.
Yeah, doodling. Start off with doodling, and that really helps me to focus. Because you know what, I'm getting an idea here that you might be a compulsive creator.
I can see that. Yeah, yes. I can see
that. And as a compulsive creator, the worst I can advise you is to stop creating compulsively and to just focus on one thing. Okay. Now let me elaborate on that. As a compulsive creator, you have to have at least 10, 15 projects going.
That's me, yeah.
Yes, and what if that is okay? What if that works for you? And if you stop the judgment on this, and now then start talking to your projects and say, okay, so which project requires my contribution, my attention today? And there might be a project that doesn't need your attention for a week or a month even, So then you can actually use your creation capacities, your genius, if you wish, on the other ones. And you might need more than just 15 things to do.
Yeah.
And then, actually, and just really stay out of judgment, stay in the question, what requires my attention today, my focus today? And then you do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was a time though that when I was doing that exactly, and then I just started to allow an incomplete project to like start to stress me out. Like it became like an OCD type thing. Yeah. So it's removing the judgment.
Exactly. Yeah. Remove that judgment that you ever need to finish something like that. Yeah. And I'm just saying, be an allowance that you probably never finish it. In fact, choose it. And you know what's going to happen? You will finish it. As soon as you take away the resistance, you will finish it because you are a finisher. Yeah. I can feel that you are a finisher. Yeah. Okay? So allow it. Just don't put that judgment onto you. You finish when the time is right. And you know that. Trust yourself. And if you get bored, if you think you're lazy, add another project.
Kind of like when I remember Andrew's talking about reading books, and like you should always be reading several books. If you lose the energy for that one book, you drop it and pick up a different one, just as long as you keep on.
And how much physical movement are you doing?
It's just my arm, just my hand, really. Craning my neck or just moving.
No, but otherwise, are you walking? Are you running? Are you going to the gym?
Every morning I'll do a stretch routine with like a certain set of push-ups and not much, but I used to play soccer consistently, but since the pandemic I just stay inside really.
See if you can add something along those lines where you actually get out the house and you get moving over longer distance, because that's also if you have a dynamic energy like this, it just gets, otherwise you get stuck and you start feeling bored and oh god and that
it's just stagnant.
That moving. Even if you get in the car, that sounds wacky. I sometimes just get in the car and drive because I need the space.
I would. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, And you know what you do when you drive, you think to yourself the road, not just the road, the houses, the trees, everything is going through you. As you drive or cycle or walk even, just perceive everything is going through you. And you expand yourself out. You be that big being that you truly be and let everything go through you without a point of view.
Yeah, I understand.
All right, Len, thanks a lot for calling in. You've been a great teacher a lot, and call in soon again.
For sure. Thank you guys both. Thank you both.
All right, everyone. We're gonna do one more caller. We're gonna go a little bit of overtime because we've got some really solid people asking some great questions. So Robert, spin up the wheel of callers and see who is next.
All righty. Next person is Shireen Bacha.
Shireen, are you there?
I'm here, you guys.
Hi, where are you calling from today?
Mumbai.
Mumbai, India. Welcome to the show. What did you think of what we're talking about today?
It hits a nerve, I guess.
Okay, so what did you want to talk about today?
Are we doing readings at all in this session?
No, we're just talking about what's going on with people's programs, ideas that we saved that for the Thursday show.
Okay. Okay. So I wanted to ask, I'm stuck in this place where I'm not able to figure out a good routine. I know what I want to do, but I'm not able to figure out, I'm not settling into routine. I figure out different routines. I try it out. It doesn't work. So do you have any suggestions for me as to how I could find one that works for me?
So are you a serial try new routines over and over again until something works?
I don't know. I think right now it's for the first time I'm unemployed. I'm not studying. I'm not getting any input from outside as to what I should be doing with my time. So I'm a little lost because of that. And yeah, I'm stuck at home 24 hours a day because of the lockdown.
Okay, how old are you?
28.
Are you at the stage you know you don't want to have children right now?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that's a solidified decision. Are you at the state where you don't want a relationship, or is that still a potential you want a relationship?
Maybe not right now. Maybe 6 to 10 months from now, I can think about it. I'm just not. Once I figure out my rhythm and routine, maybe then I'll think about it.
Okay, good place to start from. Now, rhythm and routine, if you're trying and they don't work for you, you're trying wrong. That's the first thing. That means all the other ways you've tried, you weren't truly trying with vigor, effort, or vigilance. Okay? Vigor is the life force to make something work. Effort requires enthusiasm. When effort, enthusiasm, and vigor come together, it creates a soup of creation that allows vigilance to be long-term so that a schedule can be set for you. You're at a state where so many of the other things you tried didn't work for you. You're going to have to try what I call the a la carte system, what works in the moment, and evolve one out of no solidified plan until such a time time at 6 o'clock in the morning works for you on Mondays, but will never work for you any other time, or going for, this or this type of practice during the afternoons. And because this is the first time you're not working, you literally have to create your own schedule. This is the first time you're not studying. You have to summon the energy to self-study.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's no one's running your life. And the weight of responsibility to run your own life is solely on you. And this is why it's hard to create we don't have school as that mainframe for you, or that frame of reference for you. You don't have the job that's telling you what to do, where to go, how to dress, how to act.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you in an area where the cultural divide is very difficult for you to be a woman?
Not anymore. I don't know if you remember, but I had spoken to you from when I was working in Qatar, and that was the job I left and I came.
I do remember you. And are you able to be more womanly out of expression because you're not at work, you're not in school, and allow you to discover more of a woman's fashion that fits you as part of your routine to discover that's who is you?
You know, the funny thing is, until I took that job in Qatar, I never really thought about, I mean, yeah, I worked with masculine and feminine energy, but I never really thought about these things as, am I able to be a woman? I didn't think of it in that context. It's never been an issue before. So I think there's healing there, but I don't really know where to go from there beyond the healing.
Do you know how to sew at all?
Pardon me? Do I know,
do you know
how to
any
do
sewing skills? Like
not
sewing
at
clothing?
all.
You happen to live
all.
in an area where you can find grandmothers that can sew for you for cheap, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Make some stuff up.
You know, I've been doing that. That's very strange that you suggested this. I was doing that before the lockdown. I was just getting stuff made, stuff I made, I was enjoying to wear.
Make it up, make it flaunty, make it gaudy. Truly experiment in the time where you don't have work and you don't have school telling you who to be.
Okay.
Okay. And share it with your girlfriends, share it with other people. Now, the next thing here is you left and you came back to your city. There are still parts of you who are looking for a structure to be told what to do.
Definitely.
Do you really
I'm like
need
a prisoner out of a prison.
Right. Do you really need to be told what to do?
I think a frame of reference is nice because you know whether to follow or to rebel. It's when you're on your own, it's just strange. I've never been this way before.
Okay. This is why I want to bring Martina, who has been in the corporate world, who had to break out of these old modes, who had to create her old schedule to become a woman so that she can give you some advice from her experience.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, as you're talking, you know, I can really relate to that. When I got out in 2008, you know, and yes, I was a therapist at the time, but you know, you don't have, you know, 10, 15, you know, clients a day, and there was so much time that I had on my own, and it was so different to what I was used to. As you said, there was no structure. There was, you know, so it's a miserable thing to begin with, and then you got to sit down and you say, so okay, so am I asking somebody to tell me what to do? Because actually we don't want that either, do we? Right? So I said to myself, this is, you know, what is actually fun for me? And that started my exploration of fun. And literally I had no idea what fun was. I don't know how that resonates with you. True fun. What is actually fun for me? And I started working just on that energy, asking myself on a daily basis, universe, show me what is fun for me. And again, a question. That's the tool. I had to learn what that was. And I was very surprised. At times it was going for a walk. And I used to go to the gym all the time. And I thought, and all of a sudden my body just wanted to walk. And also, you know, remember, you're saying you're alone. You're not really alone because you have your body. Your body is your biggest companion. You're never alone. So start talking to your body and don't feel weird about it. In the beginning, I thought, well, I can't talk to my body. That's so unreal, you know. No, body, what is fun for you? What would you like to do right now? What would you like to eat? What would you like to drink? And start that intimacy within yourself.
I don't like anything that's good for me. If you're telling me to do, I don't want to go for a walk. I'm so happy being a couch potato right now.
That's cool. Well, that's good too. That was just my example at the time. So that is not fun for you. What is fun for you? Keep asking that question. It's very difficult to say. You're asking for a routine to live a life. What are the possibilities?
Exactly.
What else is out there? You know? And of course, the other thing is, what comes up for me there is, are you willing to live in chaos?
I think the thing I really struggle with is, especially with my spiritual practice, is that I pick up something, I start doing something, and either I start getting results and I'm scared, or I don't get results and I'm really, really frustrated and I'm really hard on myself. And then I'm chiding myself, oh, you wasted time. So it's been 90 days. It's, you don't have anything figured out. That's the sort of vicious cycle I'm stuck in right now.
Because you don't have a teacher that's telling you pass or fail, and you don't have a boss that's telling you success or here's a higher payment. And that's the thing about somebody who's lived a very structured life, when you have to go and do your own spiritual work and not judge yourself at the valuation of what you're doing, but based off of the successes that you feel. And you start judging your inner work. You can't judge your inner work because it's an ever-evolving process.
And also what I would look at is you have chosen, we are the architect of our realities. You have chosen yourself a very unique situation there to be on your own, to be able to sit on your couch, not being judged by anyone other than yourself. Now it's what else can you choose? How can you get out of, and remember the antidote of judgment is always gratitude. Yeah, as soon as you judge yourself, okay, I'm so grateful I can sit on this bloody couch and nobody's going to tell me otherwise. So everything where you judge yourself, use gratitude to balance that out, and then ask the question, what is fun for me? And carry on like this. It's breadcrumbs, one thing at a time, if you wish. And you have to allow yourself to live from a place of chaos, because routine is not going to get you bloody anywhere. Who wants to have routine? I know Andrew is going to come in with routine. Yes, that is going to come in at some stage too. But I'm trying to invite you to allow yourself to have chaos.
Because she hasn't really experienced it before. And
exactly.
She needs it as a validating experience.
Exactly. That's why anywhere you don't allow yourself chaos, destroy and uncreate.
So this is a place where you can allow yourself to have what's called the no plan plan.
That's it. I like it.
So
no plan.
I wake up every day with no plan.
Exactly. Can you accept it? That's the plan.
That's what I'm doing and I hate it. That's what I'm doing and I hate it.
But you're creating it. You keep creating it.
Yeah, you keep creating it to experience it.
Definitely.
So this is the funny, the dichotomy here, the oxymoron. You're creating it because you're the creator of your life, but you hate it.
I definitely have to learn something from it, but yeah, like you said, embrace the chaos.
So what's fun for you? Ask the question, what's fun? Because as soon as you know what's fun for you, it doesn't matter how big or small, you got the motivation to do it.
I think I just have this need to be good at something when I'm doing it. And I just hate not, doing things and not having any barometer to judge my thing by what I'm doing.
That's the program. That's the program drone inside you, looking for external validation.
Okay.
Okay. No, Martina, finish what you were going to say, and then I got.
No, I was just going to say, gotta be good at something. At the moment, you're not doing anything, so you don't even know if you're good at it. So you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. So far, I'm just bad at having a routine.
Yes.
Routine is not going to give you what you're looking for. I can guarantee you that. I also looked for, and I started doing, I had a partner at the time and I was giving him shit and I was blaming him and all of that, At the end of the day, I just had to look at myself, ask myself, what is fun? What do I want to do with my life? And we're talking, this is a creation show today. So what is it that you want to create?
Exactly. What do you want to create?
I think the thing I'm really struggling with right now is how do you get into the state of non-competition? I hear you speak about it a lot, but I don't know how to allow myself into that.
You grew up in you grew up in a very competitive culture.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You don't get, it's totally, non-competition is totally foreign to you. So is the no plan totally foreign to you. Thus why it's asking you to begin to explore the peripheries of what non-competition can look like inside your own self, so you don't have to compete for validation, internal or external. Because right now you're competing in all these different levels for validation to do something.
Right.
So for everyone else's background, what is your education in?
So I have a BSc Banking and Finance, BCom, Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting and Finance, and MBA Financial Management. But I was a science student till 12th grade. I switched to finance post 12th.
So you are well educated, okay? Meaning you are well educated. Yes. With that well education, what are some of the infinite possibilities for you to just to create as concepts for you to explore with during your time in the no plan plan? So you come out of the no plan plan with a plan.
I'm trying to learn about stocks because that's the one part of my that's the one part my education because that's something you learn with hands-on experience. So I'm learning to trade right now. That's a plan that's come out of the chaos.
Okay.
But I think the other thing I'm struggling with is I signed up for the Living the Mystical Life daily program at the beginning of the lockdown. So I think this was mid-April, I signed up for it. And I think it went well for about 2 weeks, and then I wasn't getting results the way I wanted it. So I've completely been not doing it. So okay, I can get back to it, but what are some of the ways I could use this program specifically to me? If you have any suggestions.
So it's still about conscious application of the sacred and implementing the teachings so that the genius you is present during the times of you doing the practice.
Okay.
It's not just a 6-week course. It's an ever-evolving course. Even if you've been doing it for 6 years straight, you can still go back and learn different layers to the subjects that are there. And then understanding it's going to ask you to evolve wherever, let's say, you find the heart meditation very valuable to you, there's more to be added to it. There's more to be added to all the teachings in those courses, and it begs you to have the time to create more words for it or to translate it into your original language so it makes a different form of sense to you.
Okay.
Okay?
It's so fascinating because when you say that, the Living a Mystical Life Daily, doing the mentorship with Andrew, I don't think I've ever asked myself once what the results were. It's so funny how we think differently. I never looked at what my results were. I did it because because it was fun for me, but I never looked for any outcome.
Because you didn't need it. Because you didn't need it.
It was fun in the moment when I did it, and it wasn't always fun because it was tough and difficult. But what if you didn't know? What if you wouldn't look for an outcome and just do it because it's fun right now in the moment?
Maybe. I guess.
as the structured you says, maybe.
It's so interesting how we all think differently, isn't it? So just play with that. If it's fun in the moment, the stock course that you're doing now, is that fun for you?
Sometimes yes and sometimes no, but I think that's true of anything that you choose to study, right? It's not always easy. And I think the days I enjoy doing it, it's an investment banking course. It has stocks as a part of it. So the days I do enjoy class, it's totally worth the days I don't enjoy class. And if I don't enjoy class, it's usually because the connection is bad, or there are people who are asking questions about things I already know. So I'm a bit bored. Those are the kinds of reasons I'm not enjoying
it. Well, to be honest, the only question I have for you, what is fun for you, and add more of that. More. You need lots more fun.
So there's something else, is Living the Mystical Life Daily is a non-logical, non-hierarchical order way of experiencing, and you're a very logical person. So when you're studying your stock classes, you're familiar with a lot of the terminology, how to read a chart. I could tell you there's a half a dozen people in the audience that if you were to give them a banking chart, they'd be like, what's this gibberish? Okay. But you already innately understand it. And there are very few innate things you can perceive out of Living the Mystical Life Daily until they become practiced experiences for you. That's the nature of the course, to make practiced experiences. So the awareness and the shedding of the old skins is a cyclical journey for you. Until such a time, a teaching is like a chart.
And the time will come where you can then see the victories and why you did it in the first place. And now, years afterwards, I can say, yeah, I can tell you what the routine gave me, you know, where it got me to. But at the time, it's just enjoy it.
And I got to say, Martina, there were times that you had many breakthroughs in the mentorship class. I have to say that you would come into every other Friday, and I had this grand epiphany from but a handful of words thrown together that made you write 10, 15 pages of stuff.
Exactly. And you know what? But I wasn't looking for them. I didn't get hung up on them.
Right. You didn't get hung up.
That's what I'm trying to say here.
They were still there. You didn't need.
Of course. Yeah. But the main thing is the energy of just allowing yourself to flow. Yeah. And not because the more you're trying to achieve and achieve something, the less the more judgment you got. You've got to get out of judgment.
The other side of that is when I when I was doing my spiritual practice, I was doing it long before I signed up for the Living the Mystical Life daily course. I was doing it intuitively, and I did start getting results, but I got really scared. And that happened when I was 11. It happened when I was 16, and it happened again. So how do I center myself, ground myself, and how do I deal with fear? Is there any?
What were you getting scared of?
I saw a demonic entity, but I think it was. It didn't feel foreign to me. But I guess it's a program to be afraid of these things. So I'm not sure. So I'm not really sure about that experience entirely.
Martina, what do you have to add there?
Well, I'm just wondering if are you afraid of being too powerful?
I don't know. I'm definitely afraid of being bullied, but I've never thought of being too powerful. Is there any such thing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, isn't it? Because routine would keep you out of your potency. It would limit you to a level where you can't really step into that potency. Is that what
I guess I'm afraid.
Routine?
I guess I don't know about the routine bit, but this is definitely something I'm afraid of, that if when you say something about being too powerful, how would I affect negatively the people around me, like unconsciously,
Okay, well, you've probably been a very powerful bitch, in other lifetimes, where you probably committed to yourself that you're never going to do this again, so you have to stay in your little routine in order not to lash out and become too powerful. So would you be willing to destroy and uncreate that now?
I don't know.
Would I? Well, it's a choice you have to make. You don't have to, but you could right now make that choice.
I mean, what is the possibility of hurting the people around you? Like the real possibility, even people you don't like or you don't care for.
Well, you know that we're all architects of our own reality. We all have free will.
Yes, but we do create situations out of unconscious, and God knows, I know for sure that I'm definitely dealing with a lot of unconscious stuff. So, what's the guarantee I wouldn't hurt anyone?
What's the guarantee that you will not hurt anyone? You looking for validation even before you do it. Okay.
And there's judgment there again. It's judgment, like,
it's just because you've lived such a structured life.
Definitely.
Okay? What did your parents enforce on you at the youngest of age? Study, 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 study?
Yep, discipline. Go out to play, but between 5 to 8, be home 8 sharp.
Okay. It's time for you to realize that is your limit, your limiting energy, but it's still your rock that keeps you solid. And you have to learn to see that some of this structure is limiting your potential at seeing the unlimited point of view. You don't have to uncreate and destroy everything, just the ones that are limiting you in the moment. That's the nature of the a la carte system. What works in the moment, do it with enthusiastic joy.
Okay. And what happens? What do you do when things don't work and you've just wasted a whole day? What do you do then?
Forgive yourself and start again the next day.
Oh man.
It is that simple. It is that simple. Because the old you, if you didn't get your A+ and the sticker and validation from the teacher, meaning you had to go back and study until you got that.
You know, the thing is, when I rebelled, I went the exact opposite. I was like, I'm not studying anything. And even that had structure to it. I knew what I was doing. You know, this is totally out of the... Anyway,
but
I get what you're saying, though.
You did rebel to gain energy and power back. That's why you rebelled, because studying was too much for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay. You can use the rebel to your advantage here.
And I don't need to be a rebel anymore. That's the thing. You know, when I talked to my parents, listened, and things changed, and, you know, things were easier at some point. Not immediately. And we go back and forth, but still, you know, but yeah.
So how long have you been on lockdown now?
22nd March, since 22nd March.
And there's no date in which they're going to be letting it up?
No, I mean, the curve's not flattening at all in India because, well, various reasons. It's just not flattening. Let's just leave it at that. So there's no, and, you know, removing the lockdown in sight as of now.
And what does that mean for you on your couch at home?
Well, I'm facing unemployment, which is very, very scary on its own, because you remain unemployed long enough, you know, you can't go back to being employed just like that. And what I didn't really get into last time was that the company I was working for was my family business. So I've sort of rebelled in a bigger way, and I've said, okay, I don't want anything to do with any of y'all, and I've come out, and I have to sort of swim across right now. It's fly or die. It's a fly or die situation.
And you have enough savings to last you how long?
Oh, I mean, my parents support me, so advantage of being Indian.
it's really not fly or die then.
No, I mean, I can't go back to working with my family company. That would be worse than where I'm at now.
No, but they're still going to support you. They're not going to let you starve to death and make you homeless, are they?
No, but it limits my choices in a
No, it doesn't. It frees up more than you know. Because you can do something, just not the old way. Okay?
I know. Yeah, but I just don't have the same sort of freedom. That's the thing.
I know you know, but you don't know every day. You still fall back to the same issue that you have answers to. You're just not liking your answers.
Sure.
That's ultimately arguing for your limitations.
Oh, is that what I'm doing?
The advice is start the no plan every day. Wake up and you go, I'm on the no plan, which means I'm free to choose what makes me happy in the moment. And that's me embracing the a la carte system of my choices. Okay. And then after several days on the no plan, you'll discover there is a no plan strategy of no plan that has freed you up enough to be able to reach into your highest levels of genius and create something. So when you're done with the no plan, you've got a plan to move forward.
Chaos creates order.
Yes.
And I don't know. Do we all really have access to the genius? That's something I'm really questioning now.
100%. Absolutely.
I definitely did believe it for a long time, and I definitely see it, but I still question it.
You question it because you've had to go for external validation for so long in your life because of the nature of their culture, the nature of studies that you were doing. You've got to learn internal validation for what you do.
Okay.
Darling, thanks a lot for calling in. You were a great teacher to a lot of people out there.
Thank you.
All right, Martina, you're welcome. Martina, we're at the end of the show. Do you want to type in all the website information and how for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's the earthrevo.com. I think somebody's already written that in the chat, and my website is synchronistic.co.uk.
Okay, and everybody, you know who I am. We will be back this coming Thursday for another Adventure to Rally. We'll be taking call-in shows for people that want to discover who they are, what they could be. All right, Robert, take us away.
Thank you. Bye.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge, it's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.